Assemble! Stay dandy, baby. Maybe it's just me, but the medical jutsu in the Naruto and Boruto franchise are always completely insane, and we get introduced to another crazy doctor in a pretty exciting episode of Boruto, Naruto Next Generations. So this is another episode which is a continuation of the Kara arc, and it's immediately interesting. Amazing when they decide to expand on some of the better stories in the manga version, how the anime series can actually get better. But this was a pretty good episode, which I only have one major complaint about. One major aspect of it was completely ruined by the actual title of the episode, the title being Hashirama's Cells. You pretty much know that it's going to involve something to do with Hashirama Senju and his very distinctive wood-styled cells, and that's exactly what actually goes on in this episode. So, anime team, stop putting spoilery titles in your episodes. It completely ruins a lot of the big surprises here. If they had just changed the title to something else, I would have been a lot more surprised when at the very end of the episode we were revealed that Mitsuki had been infected by a Hashirama cell, that it would have caught me off guard. It would have made everything that Victor and his team are doing a lot more surprising. So there it is. But this is still a pretty interesting episode nonetheless. Basically picking up from the end of the last one where Boruto and his team had discovered Anato, the husband of Mia, and he's been infected with these Hashirama cells, which essentially has transformed him into a mad, crazy zombie man. And of course, Boruto, being the guy that he is, doesn't actually want to hurt him, and they try to use some sealing jutsu, which doesn't end up working, so Mitsuki decides to use all of his weird snake things to try and trap him, ends up biting onto his arm, and subsequently ends up getting infected by these Hashirama cells. This, of course, isn't revealed until about halfway through the episode, but Anato is eventually taken down by Victor and his team of ninja. They're using their scientific ninja tools, which basically are these gauntlets which shoot these little bursts of lightning, and they're basically able to, like, tase this guy down until eventually they do knock him out. And that's basically where Victor steps in, and he's like, look, Konoha Ninja, you guys suck, you haven't done anything, go back to your village, we'll handle it from here. And if you had any doubts that Victor was a creepy old man, well, basically they decide to bring Anato back to their creepy underground laboratory, which is completely shrouded in shadow, where of course we get to learn that there is a hidden object here that they are looking for, something which I believe is actually currently in the possession of Boruto, this like ring. I'm not sure what it has to do with, but it might have something to do with these Hashirama cells. But basically, Victor learns that the Hashirama cells are basically what cause Anato to go crazy, and there's not really much they can do, so they outright just decide that they're going to kill him. However, Victor gets really pissed when he realizes that Boruto and his friends have this hidden item, and it looks like eventually they are going to give chase. But the rest of the episode actually focuses a little bit more on the character of Mitsuki. He ended up getting infected by these like weird Hashirama cells, and they don't really know what's wrong with him, but you can see that he's starting to take the appearance of Anato, with some of his body starting to get infected and parts of it actually starting to look like sort of like this weird decrepit old wood, and they have no choice but to actually take him to this mysterious doctor, a doctor who has a relationship with Mugino. Now, of course, I think this is really convenient that they happen to be close enough to this doctor who apparently is some sort of an expert, but you know, anime logic, you just kind of have to accept it. So Mugino takes them to the desert, and they find this like old place which is atop this massive hill, where they discover this doctor who goes by the name of Yubina. And Yubina is terrifying as shit. Not only does she have a very striking character design, but she has a unique quirk, which basically makes her take a lot of pleasure in seeing her patients in pain. I mean, don't get me wrong, she's a really great medical ninja and might even be on par with some of the best that we've actually seen in the series, but she seems to take some sort of carnal pleasure in seeing sort of her patients basically scream out in pain when they're being treated. It's a weird character quirk, but I have to admit it makes her immediately memorable, to say the least. And with her and the help of Sarada, they're actually able to sort of learn that these Hashirama cells are actually inside of Mitsuki, and she's able to extract it, which essentially is just a small little piece of wood. And of course, she decides to divulge this information to Boruto, Konohamaru, and the rest of the team, saying that these Hashirama cells are out there, and they actually are infecting people. And the thing with the Hashirama cells are that you basically have to be a very strong person with a strong immune system to able to control it and to survive it. That's how Mitsuki was able to get through this, and that's why someone like Naruto, who also uses the Hashirama cells to actually heal his arm, is able to withstand these abilities. But your everyday normal person is not going to be able to do this, and eventually they're just going to transform into a creepy wood zombie, and they're eventually going to die. This is demonstrated even further because Yubina has another patient within her office who is this little girl who came to her who's also been infected with the Hashirama cells, who's currently in stasis. The good news is, however, because she traded Mitsuki, she learns that he basically has some sort of like immunity within his body, which is going to allow her to create an antibody to heal anyone who's infected by what I'm going to call the Hashirama virus. And so the episode ends and the plot thickens as we get to learn that Boruto and his friends are actually going to have to travel to a brand new place known as the Land of Silence. And the reason that they're going to have to go to this place, which is essentially the Tatooine of the Naruto universe, a hive of scum and villainy, is that you're going to have to learn how these Hashirama cells have been sold on the black market. And the Land of Silence is basically where all of this stuff goes down. And what's interesting about it is that it has no authority when it comes to shinobi or ninja. So what's the rundown on this episode of Boruto Naruto Next Generations? This was another pretty good episode of the Kara arc, which again is doing a great job on expanding on the greater world of the Naruto universe. What I especially love about Boruto in general is not only does the anime version expand on the manga, but of the world of Naruto. I mean, before it was always just the ninja villages and that was kind of it, but so far in the last couple of episodes, we've seen a lot of really interesting locales, whether it be like the Hidden Valley itself, or Yumina's weird doctor place in the middle of the desert, or the fact that there's a place known as the Land of Silence, which is essentially just a giant hive for all sorts of black market dealings. It shows that this world is a lot bigger than we could have potentially imagined, and there's a lot of interesting locales to go to. But this episode, I think the most memorable thing about it is the character of Yubina, a very scary doctor to say the least. She's no Tsunade by any stretch of the means, and has a completely different type of personality, but I really do like that. It immediately makes her really memorable, and she comes across as just as funny as she does scary. I also really love that they're continuing to amplify the fact that Victor is not a very nice man. This guy is freaking scary. When he freaks out learning that Boruto and his team have that hidden item that they've been looking for, that man must have freaking popped a blood vessel. He was so damn pissed. I also love the fact that little by little they're showing he has a strong connection with Kara. Not only did we see him in a cloak in the previous episodes, but the fact that all of his goons are using like that scientific ninja technology is a nice little hint to show that he has associations with them as well. You'll know what I mean when they finally start to introduce the other members of Kara, as they tend to utilize this type of advanced technology as well. I also really love that they're doing a lot more with the character of Mugino, who, when he was introduced in the last episode, I completely forgot that he's actually appeared a few times, and the fact that apparently he is a character from the manga version who had a very small appearance, and I completely forgot all about that. If it wasn't for you guys commenting about it, I probably even wouldn't have put the pieces of the puzzle together. It is worth mentioning, though, that they sort of de-aged him a little bit for his brand new appearance, so they are making him look a little different, but honestly, I like the design of his character, and I love that he's showing how resourceful he is. He still butts heads with Boruto just a little bit throughout this episode, but you can tell that by the end of the arc, they're probably going to have a lot of respect for one another. Overall, I thought this was a nice little solid episode of the series, continuing to build on the greater world of the Naruto series, and showing how far things can actually go with its expanse. Not to mention the character of Yubina, a character I'm going to remember for quite some time, and honestly, I cannot wait to go to the Land of Silence. I can't wait to see a world where ninja have no authority and how they're going to deal with all of that. I think it's going to be pretty intriguing. Plus, the preview had this guy who had a little salamander on his freaking, like, shoulder who was wearing a little fez, and he was wearing a fez too. That's freaking adorable. So I'm going to give this episode a solid 4 out of 5. I thought it was a pretty great episode of the series. Your thoughts may differ, however, and I'd love to hear them in the comment section below. Make sure to tell me what you thought about this episode of Boruto Naruto Next Generations. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. Use a kunai, a shuriken, a scientific ninja tool, and hit that like button. Helps out these videos a lot. Can't thank you enough for that. I would also like to thank all of my patrons. You guys are doing a great job of checking out my Patreon page and giving me some amazing donations to the channel. If any of you do make a small first-time donation, I will review an anime series of your choice, so make sure to check that out. I would also love to add your name to this list of amazing people who are helping to support this channel. Otherwise, that's it, my friends. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.